What if what you feel in your heart was an answer, not an obsession, not a toxic attachment, but divine confirmation, disguised as confusion? You've prayed, you've asked for signs, you've tried to forget, to move on, to turn the page, but despite everything, one person remains there. Silent, absent perhaps, but deeply rooted. You don't know why, you don't understand how, but this connection refuses to die. What if it wasn't a bug in your heart, but a message from Allah? Stay until the end. What you're about to hear could very well put the pieces back together, of an answer you already carried within you. Why does she always come back? Close your eyes for a moment. Detach yourself from the noise, from the judgment of others, from logic. Return to that silence you know too well, the silence of your thoughts, when everything around you has faded away, but her image remains. Why does she come back? Why, despite time, despite prayers to forget, despite the distance, do you continue to feel her somewhere, like a gentle imprint that refuses to fade? You've tried to turn the page, yes? But it's as if Allah won't let you close the book. Do you know what that means? It means that what you feel isn't simple nostalgia. It's an inner presence, rooted deeper than you dare admit. And this presence doesn't shout. It doesn't impose itself. She returns silently, at precise moments. You pray, and without even realizing it, her name appears in your dua. You speak of your future, and her face crosses your mind. You are broken, and you don't want her to come back. But she is there. She never really left. Do you really believe your heart is so weak? That it clings for nothing? That it insists by mistake? No. Your heart is smarter than you ever thought. And what you feel is not an emotional failure. It is a direction, a subtle call. You see, Allah does not always speak with evidence. He also speaks with persistence. What does not go away? What comes back despite you? It is not necessarily a test to overcome. Sometimes it's a sacred bond in the making, a chapter that destiny hasn't yet finished writing. He took this person from the visible, so that you might understand what they left you in the invisible. And if, despite everything, they continue to live on in your prayers, it's perhaps because they were never meant to die in your story. You asked for signs, didn't you? You looked to the sky, you waited for a dream, a change, a clear break. But instead, Allah left you with a sensation, a strange calm, an inexplicable peace when you think of them, a feeling of, I don't understand, but I know it's not over. Listen carefully. When Allah wants to turn you away from something, He cuts the root, He dries up the source, He closes your heart and puts a chill in it. But now, what you feel is the opposite. It's not emptiness. It's a gentle warmth, a discreet light, an invisible thread that continues to vibrate even when everything seems broken. You think you're crazy. You say to yourself, I should have forgotten by now. It's probably just me holding on. But if you were the only one feeling this way, why has this feeling never distanced you from Allah? Why, on the contrary, has it made you more sincere in your prayers, more humble, more attentive? Because this bond, it doesn't chain you. It shapes you. It teaches you patience. It forces you to purify your intention. It trains you to love without possessing, and that is one of the greatest secrets of love that the divine allows. It's not a hopeless attachment. It's a seed that God planted in you, and that He waters without you realizing it. And perhaps, for now, He's saying to you, keep it in your heart, but don't run away. Hold on, but let me write the rest. If it's written for you, it will return at the right time. But if it's there to lift you up, then let this pain purify you. But then, why does this feeling return precisely when you move away? Why does it knock at the door of your heart just when you thought you were ready to forget it? Why is it that even in the heaviest senses, you still hear this connection breathing softly, somewhere inside you, too?
But what if I'm wrong? But then, what if I'm imagining things? What if all this is all in my head? No. You know how to recognize an illusion. Illusions leave you confused, lost, agitated. But what you feel is strangely calm. It's not chaos. It's something deep, returning silently, like a discreet but unstoppable tide. What if it's just an obsession? You've believed it before, haven't you? You've said to yourself, it's probably psychological. I'm getting too attached. You've even tried to distract yourself, to fill your heart elsewhere, to force forgetting. But obsessions, they consume, they drain, they wear you down. But you feel a stable presence. Persistent, yes, but peaceful. Don't panic. No loss of control, only a connection, silent but anchored. It's not an obsession, it's an imprint. And imprints don't fade. When they're imprinted by someone greater than you. What if Allah wanted me to move on? Seriously? Don't you think He would have already moved on for you if He had really wanted to? You've tried everything. You've blocked Him out, cut ties, avoided His name, turned a blind eye when an image hurt. But nothing has really worked. And above all, there's never been complete relief. Not the peace Allah sends when you've done what's right. Just an emptiness. A silence that's louder than before. Do you think God would have left you in this tension if He wanted you to leave? Or is He teaching you to stay even when it's unclear? What if I'm being tested? Of course you're being tested. But don't get the wrong test. The test isn't the person. The test is what that connection reveals about you. Do you love her out of lack? Or out of faith? Do you hope she'll complete you or elevate you? Do you desire her? Or do you respect her even in her absence? You see, Allah doesn't always test you to remove you. Sometimes He tests you to prepare you. And this wedding that you think is painful is perhaps a disguised confirmation, not a rejection, a testing of the heart, a slow cooking of the soul. But why does it take so long? Because it's not just a human connection, it's a divine treatment. And Allah never bestows a blessed thing while your heart is still filled with impure expectations. He removes your projections. He empties your illusions. He makes you ready to receive what you believe is already ready to experience. It's not slow. It's precise. It's exact. But what if I've been wrong from the beginning? So why, with every attempt to forget, does your soul cry out silently? Why, every time you move forward without it, do you feel that something essential remains behind? It's not because you refuse to turn the page. Perhaps it's because that chapter hasn't been written yet. And that's frustrating. But frustration doesn't mean error. She means your heart wants an ending that only Allah knows. What if I'm not ready yet? That's exactly it. You may not be ready, and neither is she. But that doesn't mean you're not destined for each other. It means you're in divine training. Allah is training you to love without possessing, to hope without idolizing, to wait without losing faith. So, why does it persist? Why does this bond refuse to die, even when everything pushes you to kill it? 3. It's not supposed to end like this. Do you remember?
There was a day, or maybe a night, when you said to yourself, "It's over." You didn't say it out loud. You didn't even have the strength. But inside, you felt something gently break, like a light silently going out. It wasn't a dramatic breakup. It was more subtle. It was that moment when you realized the other person wasn't coming back, or that you no longer had the words, the energy, or the hope. So you closed that chapter, or at least, you tried. You told yourself it was better this way, that it was healthier, that if it were really written, it would come back. And if it weren't, Allah would guide you elsewhere. And yet, despite everything, the connection never completely disappeared. There were those days when you thought you were healed. Then her name appeared, without warning, in a conversation, a notification, a line of dua, and your heart started beating again, as if it had never healed. You tried to turn the page, but sometimes the page turns by itself, as if something or someone wouldn't let you close this story. Not yet. And every time you feel like you're moving forward, a detail, an image, a dream, brings you back to her. And in the silence of your soul, you hear that familiar voice whisper, "It's not over. It's not supposed to end like this." You don't know why. You don't even know anymore if it's love, faith, or simply a lack. But you feel something, and that something refuses to die. You've felt the absence. You've known the distance, perhaps even the pain, the kind that digs deep without leaving a visible trace. And yet, in that pain, there's a strange sweetness, as if that person had been taken from you, not to punish you, but to elevate you, so that you might understand the depth of a bond that only Allah can create. Because let's be honest, you're not clinging to an illusion. You're clinging to what made you alive. To that time when your heart beat for something greater than yourself, when your soul still believed in signs, when you made dua with tears in your eyes, not to possess, but to be chosen. And ever since, even though she's gone, even though you haven't heard from her, you continue to pray. Not every day, but in the truest moments. In this Fajr, when your heart is raw. In this evening, when you can't sleep. In this sajda that you're holding on to longer than usual, without really knowing why. And you wonder, is it normal to still feel all this? Is it healthy? Is it allowed? But what you feel is not unhealthy. It's not an obsession. It's not a weakness. It's a divine trace. Because anything that sincerely brings you closer to Allah, even if it's through pain, is never in vain. And this person, maybe they left you, yes, but they left you with a version of yourself that you would never have known without them. You don't need a message or a response. You just need to understand why their image still lives somewhere in your heart. And the truth is, it's not just a memory. Perhaps it's a light placed by Allah at a key moment in your life. A light that you try to extinguish, while it's there to enlighten you. Or a door that only He can open. Allah does not plant a pure emotion in a heart to play with it. What He places, He protects it. What He allows us to feel, He has weighed it in His infinite wisdom. So if what you feel is still there, after the distance, the doubt, the prayer, the patience, and this connection has never separated you from Him, if, on the contrary, it has brought you closer to sajda, dhikr, tawakkul, then perhaps it wasn't a burden, but a key Perhaps this person didn't come to fill your emptiness, but to help you through it. They aren't there to complete your life. They are there to teach you where true life begins. The one that doesn't depend on human presence, but on celestial guidance. Not everything can be explained by logic. There are connections that are born behind the scenes of destiny. Presences that can only be understood in the light of silence. Names that become invocations. Faces that become landmarks. Absences that become evidence of guidance. And sometimes, what you think is an emotional attachment is actually a spiritual compass. There are people God sends you, not to stay, but to awaken what was dormant within you. Not to complete you, but to guide you. And if their memory doesn't destroy you, but makes you gentler, more truthful, more prayerful, more patient, then it's not a trap. It's a sign. As long as this bond doesn't become a prison, as long as it doesn't push you to disobey, to forget, to chase after what eludes you, as long as it makes you more humble, more discreet, more turned toward the invisible, then it might well be a door. Not a door that opens through your efforts, but a secret door, invisible to all but you, and inaccessible except through Him. Allah sometimes leaves traces in your heart that only you can feel. A discreet echo, like a lamp suspended in the soul, that continues to burn, even in the dark. You don't know where this light comes from, but you know it has never left you. What if what you feel wasn't a blockage, not a weakness, not an error of discernment? What if it were a sacred path designed just for you? A journey that doesn't lead to a person, but to a version of yourself you've never known. The one God is preparing. In patience, in waiting, in the invisible bond that only He knows. So don't try to explain it. Don't even try to name it. Perhaps it's not her you need to find again, but yourself, in this love you believe to be earthly, and which was perhaps a disguised reminder of your divine origins.
5. It's not me who's holding on. It's Him. There was this brother, not someone weak, not someone unstable. An upright man, seemingly solid, a sincere believer. He had loved, yes, perhaps even too deeply. But one day, he made a decision to cut ties. He did it cleanly, without anger, without drama, just out of faith. Because he believed it was what God expected of him. Because there were no more answers, no clear path. So he closed the door. He got back up. He resumed his routine, his prayers, his plans. He kept moving forward, at least on the surface. But inside, there was a dull ache, not crushing, not devastating, just constant, like a background note that you only hear when everything stops. He prayed to forget her. He even made very specific dua. "O Allah, if it's not for me, tear this thought from my heart." And yet, the name kept coming back. He didn't even think about it consciously. But every time he found himself in sajda, when the words flowed unfiltered, when the inner voice took over, that name appeared. One day he said to me, "I don't understand. I didn't choose it. It's automatic. It's as if this name entered itself into my dua." He felt guilty, weak, attached. But deep down, it wasn't a toxic attachment. It was a mark God had left there, and one he couldn't erase. Not because he didn't have enough faith, but perhaps because this bond wasn't meant to be erased. You see, sometimes
It's not you who chooses to hold on. It's Allah who chooses that you hold on, even when you no longer know why. Even when everything seems to be telling you to let go. Even when you make sincere efforts to turn the page. But the page remains open. And that's the most disconcerting thing. It's not an obsession, it's not a carnal desire. It's a feeling of unfinished business, as if something hadn't been written yet. Or as if you were supposed to wait for divine permission to move forward, not just your own. There are things you can force, and others that you just have to carry, silently, until the day Allah shows you their meaning. This brother accepted that he no longer understood. He just kept walking, with this trace in his heart. Not like a burden, but like a suspended prayer that he no longer dares to say out loud, but that God continues to hear. Because there are bonds that do not fade with time, nor with distance, nor even with rational decisions. There are bonds that remain alive because Allah wills it. And sometimes, that's all you need to know. You see, Allah doesn't need words to speak to you. He uses your heart, your intuition, your silence. And sometimes, He leaves someone there not to disturb you, but to awaken you. If this person remains in your heart without turning you away from Him, perhaps they aren't there for you to erase, but so that you can understand something through them. Don't be in a hurry to forget what Allah has not finished teaching you. If you feel this kind of connection, share it in the comments. You are not alone. And make dua tonight, but not to obtain, to understand. Subscribe if you want to continue this inner journey, where the answers are not always obvious, but always guided.